The year 146 BC marked an end, not just to a city, but to an entire civilization. For centuries, the Western Mediterranean had been a stage for two titans, the burgeoning Roman Republic and the venerable maritime empire of Carthage. Their clash was inevitable, their conflict brutal, and its resolution absolute. This is the story of Carthage, from its audacious birth to its complete and systematic erasure. Carthage, the new city, rose from the North African coast in present-day Tunisia, established by Phoenician settlers in 814 BC. From its strategic position, it rapidly ascended to become one of the ancient world's largest metropolises. Its harbor, a marvel of ancient engineering, teemed with ships laden with goods from across the known world. The Punic people, as its inhabitants were known, forged a civilization rooted in extensive trade and unparalleled naval power, extending their influence across the Western Mediterranean. This economic might translated into a unique culture, blending Phoenician traditions with local North African elements, creating a formidable force that would define its era for nearly 7 centuries. The city's wealth was evident in its grand temples, bustling markets, and the sheer scale of its urban development, a testament to its mercantile genius. The very success of Carthage, however, sowed the seeds of its destruction. Its expanding trade networks and naval dominance inevitably brought it into direct competition with the nascent Roman Republic. Rome, a land-based power rapidly consolidating its control over the Italian peninsula, viewed Carthage's command of the seas and its rich territories with increasing suspicion. The two powers, each believing in its own manifest destiny, were destined for a catastrophic confrontation that would redraw the map of the ancient world. The stage was set for a century of conflict, a period of unprecedented brutality that would test the endurance of both empires. The rivalry ignited in 264 BC with the outbreak of the First Punic War, a brutal struggle for Mediterranean supremacy. Initially, Rome was primarily a land power, its legions unmatched on solid ground, but its navy was rudimentary compared to Carthage's experienced fleets. The conflict for control of Sicily, a strategically vital island, forced Rome to adapt. With remarkable speed, the Republic developed its naval strength, reverse engineering Carthaginian ship designs and innovating with devices like the Asterisk Corvus, a boarding bridge that transformed sea battles into land engagements. This rapid naval expansion allowed Rome to challenge Carthage directly on the seas. After more than 2 decades of relentless fighting, marked by immense losses on both sides, Rome emerged victorious in 241 BC, gaining control over Sicily and extracting heavy indemnities from its defeated rival. This first major victory signaled Rome's arrival as a formidable maritime power and laid the groundwork for future, even more devastating, clashes. Despite its defeat, Carthage, under the leadership of Hannibal Barca, began to rebuild its strength, focusing on expanding its territories in Hispania. This expansion, however, only fueled Roman anxiety. The Second Punic War, commencing in 218 BC, would become the defining conflict of the age, forever etched into the annals of history by the audacious campaign of Hannibal Barca, Hamilcar's son. Driven by a deep-seated, almost hereditary rivalry against Rome, Hannibal launched an invasion of Italy that defied all conventional military wisdom. His daring plan involved crossing the formidable Alps with an army of 50,000 infantry, 9,000 cavalry, and a contingent of 37 war elephants, a feat of logistics and sheer will that remains legendary. The journey across the Alps in the autumn of 218 BC was a grueling ordeal, claiming thousands of lives and most of the elephants, yet Hannibal emerged into the Po Valley, ready to strike at the heart of Roman power. For over a decade, from 218 BC to 203 BC, Hannibal inflicted devastating defeats on Roman forces across the Italian peninsula. Battles like Tribia, Lake Trasimene, and most famously, Cannae in 216 BC, where 70,000 Roman soldiers were annihilated in a single day, brought immense pressure and fear to the Italian people. Roman cities were sacked, alliances tested, and the very existence of the Republic seemed to hang by a thread. The constant threat of Hannibal's army, moving almost at will through the countryside, created an atmosphere of terror and desperation in Rome itself, a city that had not seen a foreign army at its gates for centuries. Yet, Roman resilience proved formidable. While Hannibal remained largely undefeated in open battle, Rome refused to surrender. They adopted a strategy of attrition under Quintus Fabius Maximus, avoiding direct confrontation and instead harassing Hannibal's supply lines. Meanwhile, Rome began to launch strategic counter-offensives elsewhere, notably in Hispania, under the brilliant leadership of Publius Cornelius Scipio, later known as Scipio Africanus. Scipio systematically dismantled Carthaginian power in Hispania, depriving Hannibal of reinforcements and resources. In 204 BC, Scipio took the war directly to Carthage's homeland, invading North Africa. This forced Hannibal to abandon Italy and return to defend his city. The decisive confrontation came in 202 BC at the Battle of Zama, where Scipio Africanus, utilizing superior tactics, inflicted a crushing defeat on Hannibal's forces. This victory forced Carthage to accept a harsh peace treaty, stripping it of its overseas territories, imposing massive war indemnities, and severely limiting its military capabilities, effectively reducing it to a client state. Carthage was brought to the brink of total destruction, its power broken, its future uncertain. Despite these heavy losses and the punitive terms of the 201 BC treaty, Carthage began a remarkable economic recovery. Its fertile lands and robust trade networks allowed it to rebuild its wealth relatively quickly. This resurgence, however, was viewed with increasing alarm and suspicion in Rome. The memory of Hannibal's invasion and the existential threat he posed still haunted the Roman Senate. Elder statesmen like Cato the Elder famously concluded every speech with the refrain, "Carthago delenda est," Carthage must be destroyed. Rome, now the undisputed power in the Mediterranean, saw its former rival, even in its weakened state, as a persistent and intolerable threat. This paranoia, coupled with Roman political revenge and a desire for total annihilation, set the stage for the Third Punic War. The final conflict, from 149 BC to 146 BC, was not a struggle for supremacy, but an act of deliberate extermination. Rome manufactured a pretext for war, demanding impossible concessions from Carthage. When the Punic people, desperate to defend their homeland, refused, a massive Roman army under the command of Scipio Aemilianus, the adopted grandson of Scipio Africanus, landed in North Africa. What followed was a prolonged and brutal siege of the city of Carthage, lasting 3 agonizing years. The inhabitants, trapped within their walls, faced starvation, disease, and relentless Roman assaults. They melted down statues for weapons, sacrificed their hair for catapult ropes, and fought with an unparalleled ferocity born of desperation. When the Roman legions finally breached the walls in the spring of 146 BC, the city's fate was sealed. For over a week, a horrific street-by-street battle raged through the ancient metropolis. Roman forces systematically destroyed every building, every temple, every home. The air was thick with smoke and the cries of the dying. Widespread slaughter claimed countless Carthaginian lives. The surviving population, estimated at some 50,000 men, women, and children, were rounded up and sold into slavery, their freedom and their heritage extinguished forever. The destruction was so complete, so intentional, and so utterly devastating that many historians have termed this act a genocide, a deliberate attempt to erase a people and their culture from the face of the earth. By 146 BC, Carthage's independent existence was irrevocably erased.
Hi, I'm Yuri, the creator of this channel. If you enjoyed watching video, please like and subscribe. It really motivates me to create more content for you. See you in the next one.